Little sunshine into somebody's life with
Good,
a
how are
memorable
you?
gift
Am I
from
slurring
Clifford's
too much?
Flowers. The
Doing good, doing good.
Bureau has declared 2021 the year of the sunflower.
All right, we are T-minus and getting ready to fly.
Flowers of the summer into your home. Collections like their sunflower basket, overflowing with
Fly like an eagle.
and cheer, and their summer sunrise
Oh, we have
bouquet.
stuff in my
Your
head now,
bright,
thank you.
warm yellow flowers glow like a summer moon.
You're welcome.
Just a phone call or a
Now that means I'm free of it.
Clifford's will deliver these for you. No sweat. Clifford specializes in all sorts of botanical beauty. Send someone an orchid, a French garden, or a garden basket as a long-lasting gift. Clifford's will deliver bouquets, plant arrangements, and even custom-made gift baskets filled with fruit or your friend's favorite treats. Cookies, coffee, tea, just ask. You can arrange a pickup by calling Clifford's Flowers directly at 888-441-8884. By visiting in person at Clifford's Flowers, 86 Liberty Street in
We're live on
Quincy,
Facebook.
online at cliffords.com.
And taking a look at sports, the Red Sox take on the Detroit Tigers tonight. That game is at 7:10. Meteorologist Bill Giles and latest forecast brought to you by the Clean Team. Carpet, upholstery, tile, or grout. If you're worried the stain won't come out, call the Clean Team.
Hi, this is Matt with the Clean Team. You've heard our commercials, and maybe you've heard of us from your friends. But have you called us yet? Do you have a carpet or area rug that you don't think is worth cleaning? How about your favorite chair that you're afraid is ruined from newspaper print, food stains, or head oils? Oriental rugs? No problem. We can pick them up, clean them in our facility, and deliver them back to your home or office. What color is the tile and grout in your kitchen supposed to be? The Clean Team can clean all of these things and quite often bring them back to like-new condition. We can even remove the mineral stains from your glass shower doors and bring back a shine to your granite or marble vanity and countertops. Check out our website. We have lots of before and after pictures. Our technicians do an amazing job. So the next time you think to yourself, that'll never come clean, call the Clean Team. We're located in Kingston and we offer free consultations. Find us on the web at thecleanteam.net or call us at 781-585-4678. That's 781-585-4678. Call the Clean Team.
We had a rather pleasant day today
I'm
with
saying
bright
to
sunshine in the morning, but the
The
clouds
buyers agree to move forward only with
in the
the
afternoon.
only.
However,
Yeah, the
any
expectation
rain
of
is
following
going to
items
stay
that you
away
can do. Yeah.
until tomorrow night.
Because they
It'll
asked
stay
for
fairly
money.
comfortable overnight tonight,
Hello?
but cloudy.
Hello?
Because of that, it won't be as cool as it was this
What's that?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
back into the low
How come we
60s.
can't hear ourselves? Yeah,
Clouds
I can't hear
continue for
myself.
tomorrow. Could be some bright spots here or there.
That I'm not sure of.
But you'll notice just a little bit of the mugginess beginning to work into the area as well. The high 75. Like I said, we stay dry until we head towards the evening, and then showers will be moving up from the
Are they
south
allowed?
tomorrow night. Look for showers throughout the day on Thursday. Some could be briefly heavy in spots Thursday morning, along with an isolated thunderstorm. The high temperature on Thursday again in the mid-70s, becoming more humid. Friday we get back to partial sunshine, warm and humid with highs in the low 80s. For WATD,
And no one was in here touching this,
weather
right?
forecasting meteorologist Bill Giles.
And right now, it's 74 inside our South Shore
I
studio.
can almost never hear myself.
That's local news. I'm Christine James. Stay tuned
I
for
can hear the
Welcome
studio.
Insight with Sharon McNamara right here on
Hello?
95.9 WATD.
Now, Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm Sharon McNamara, and you are listening
It's a little
to
too
the
loud.
State Roundtable.
All right,
Share a
80
little bit about my
seconds counting
background
down.
Before we get started, I am the broker-owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique real estate firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and
Ask
marketing
Ben if
consultants
the new guy
who
is
service
there
home
that's
buyers
streaming.
and
What?
home
Is
sellers
the new
throughout
guy there that is
Boston, the
streaming?
South Shore, the South
Yes,
Coast,
it is.
and
This is George.
Our firm takes
Hi,
pride
George.
in assisting
Hi,
our
George.
clients in the
George is a
nature of
Pembroke
lives
guy as
with a
well.
holistic approach to the
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Abington. I don't know why I thought Pembroke,
Every
but
move
Yeah,
should
close
be
enough.
something
close enough, exactly. He's a South Shore
The
guy.
real estate team member Mary Baker and I, along with the director.
So
of
he'll be with me probably a couple of weeks while we get him acclimated to doing the shift with you
share
guys.
with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We like to mix it up sometimes, so not only will you
All
hear
right,
our
40
perspective
seconds.
on real estate topics, but you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of some of our real estate agents at Boston Connect Real Estate and the preferred professionals that we trust. Be part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team or one of the dedicated agents at Boston Connect Real Estate to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with us at Boston
10 seconds, hot mic.
781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all our South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Real Estate Roundtable with Boston Connect Real Estate's broker team. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am live in studio with Sharon McNamara.
Hello.
Hello. And Mary Baker.
Hello.
Hello.
I feel like it's, I haven't been in the studio for a while. It's been a
Yeah,
couple
I
weeks
feel
for
like
me.
you have missed, well, you missed last week, right? Or was it the week before?
The week before.
I have no idea.
Last week we did, a pre-recorded, well, no.
Oh, yeah.
An old show on real estate scams because
Yeah.
we just thought it was that important to talk about again.
Yeah, well, I do apologize, Ben, but I did not listen to the show last week. But I had asked Ben if he could replay the show and then also do like a little bit of an introduction. So the reason why we replayed our real estate scam show last week was because myself and Sam Horton, who is a full-time real estate agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate, and Mary is smiling because it's her boyfriend. It's also my landlord. He was getting a lot of calls, and myself was getting a lot of calls about this real estate scam that was going on in Boston. It was a condo that was for sale for $995,000, actually on the market, but somebody had posted on Craigslist that it was it was like a short-term rental. So we had all these people who were desperately looking for sort of interim housing and saw this beautiful condo fully furnished for $1,300 with 2 parking spaces in Boston and thought, oh, I should apply and all these things. So I did a little experiment and I reached out to the person on Craigslist. First of all, I don't even know how to use Craigslist, so Sharon had to find the actual posting. And I reached out to the person and they responded to me and they sent out an application that was just a Word document. It wasn't even in PDF form. It was literally, he sent me a Word document that I could change. And he said that he had created a virtual tour and that he gave me all the specifics about the apartment and signed it Sam Horton and a phone number. So I called the phone number. It wasn't a real phone number. So then when people start to Google Sam Horton, realtor, they get us and they've been calling here and, this woman had said, I have been going back and forth via email with Sam about this condo, and I was just about to send my deposit, and I just felt like something is off. Something here isn't right. It's too good to be true. So I talked to her a little bit, and then I ended up finding it, and yeah, it's on the market for $995,000. So Sharon ended up reaching out to the broker of that company and just let them know, hey, this is what's going on, so they could let that agent and the seller know, because they were using professional photos and everything. They were taking from whether it was MLS or Zillow or whatever.
They were taking a real live listing.
They were taking a real live listing, which we talked about before. I think now we've done 2 real estate scam shows. Sharon's been on the news about it, the whole 9 yards. But it's not just us. It's happening too.
We're the ones finding it.
Yeah, we're the ones finding it. Put me to work with finding something, and I'll figure it out. And then I have to call the big guns to fix it. But yeah, so that's why we sort of went ahead and replayed that show. Plus, it's the summertime, and we needed a little bit of time off, so we got to enjoy. We got to enjoy the beautiful day. Hello, Sharon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I don't even know why I have my headphones still on because I can't hear anything.
I can't hear anything in our
And I feel like now
Gremlins come in the middle of the night, I'm sure of it. So
yeah.
But what are we talking about this week?
Yeah, so tonight we are going to be talking about condos and associations. So it's not necessarily just condos. There are other living situations, homeowners associations that have
park associations.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with park association right now, so that's
So whether it's a 55 and over community, we'll go over that. Single family homes can also have an association. We have that in Copperwood, and does Bristol have an association? No. So so we can go through sort of that stuff. But Sharon, this was your idea to have this show.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So we are actually currently, our team is actually working on a transaction right now that involves a couple of things that are sort of tricky to sort of deal with. And one of the things that came up that made me realize how much we have to depend on the other agent on the other side to be, one, forthright with information. And if you don't know the information, just tell us you don't know the information. I'd rather know that than try to assume, because one, it's new construction and it's a condominium. So there are a lot of different moving pieces when it comes to that. And it's in the city. So it's in Boston, Roslindale. And that makes it even more complicated, so when it comes to permitting and occupancy permits,
Tends to just take a little bit longer, right?
It takes a little bit longer. And unfortunately, you're at the mercy of all of these permits getting issued. And, besides that, with COVID, things have been a little bit slower too with construction and everything. But right now we currently have a client that she sold her home in Pembroke, beautiful home on Silver Lake. If you follow the team on Instagram, I posted something there last week when we had the closing on Thursday, and they moved down to their house in Florida, but they have like 2 moving trucks. Now everything's in storage for everything that was going to Rosendale. She had to fly down there to meet the movers, and her husband had to stay back for a couple of days. And then she flew back home. He picked her up at the airport, and they drove back down to Florida so they could then unpack their house down there, because they don't have a house here.
Yeah.
And if, I really do, we are working on 34 lots right now. So we are very familiar with new construction and how it works. But we were sort of blindsided by this because now our client is homeless here.
Yeah.
And her car has been in my garage and a rug and some hosta or whatever. So I think it's important for our listeners to know, we talk about single family homes all the time. We've talked about condos in the past, but just giving you some, things to think about when you're purchasing a condo and new construction.
Yeah, and I sort of, when I was doing the agenda, I started off with sort of the documents that's associated, and they're both documents that you want to look at when you are selling and also when you're purchasing. Mm-hmm. So why don't we sort of go over some of those docs, explain what they are, what is in them, why they're important, and at what time maybe during the process of purchasing do you ask for these documents.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
So why don't we start off with the master deed? So does anyone want to go over what the master deed is?
So master deed would basically tell you how the whole community or the building itself is kind of governed, what ownership responsibilities each individual unit has, as well as the entirety of the complex or building, so to speak. So that's probably one of the more important, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I would think of the master deed. It's not really a long document, but it's just kind of describing the properties, essentially, just like a single family would have a deed.
Mm-hmm.
The master, and then what can I go on to the
can I sidetrack for a
unit
second?
deed?
Yeah. So people, all of our listeners know they're listening to us on WATD, but then we have a bunch of people on Facebook that also watch us, right? So hello to all our Facebook friends. And I have no idea why my skin is the same color as this.
Yeah, it actually looks like that on Facebook.
I am the same exact color.
You look like an Oompa Loompa. I actually have a deathly fear of Oompa Loompas.
All right, I'm going to shut off some of
the
the
Wizard
lights
of Oz.
in here, so maybe.
Yeah, it is a little bright, like around stage here.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, Mary, so it outlines specifically like what part of each unit is owned by somebody specifically and considered what's common area. So the individual units are described as walls in, so meaning the interior space from the subfloor to the lower surface of the ceilings to the walls. And then shared space usually means the land, the roof, that kind of stuff. It could be siding, if they're, I'm just thinking of.
Yeah, that is really important for people to think about when they are moving into a condo, is what am I responsible for? A lot of people want to, that next chapter has a lot to do with, well, I'll talk about, sort of the generation that's right sizing downward is, what are they responsible to do? Do they have to shovel snow? Well, in some circumstances you do, but that's more about the rules and regulations, I guess. But in the deed,
what you have to ensure, maybe.
Yeah, the master deed is definitely if you are responsible for your own windows or, to the studs or to the walls.
Yeah, and I think it also talks about like who has access to what. So whether it's like decks or parking spaces, like if it's assigned parking and it's deeded. So what's the difference with that? So if it's a deeded or if it's assigned, or if it's not assigned.
Question. Yeah. So deeded would be, most of the larger developments are assigned. So the association, when it starts, will say, unit 1 has parking space 1, unit 5 has, parking 5. But in some instances, the association could get together and say, you know what, we want to mix this up a little bit. So now unit 1 is parking at 10. I mean, you would have to go through a lot to get that to sort of happen.
Yeah.
But in some circumstances, maybe somebody, moves in with a handicap or something like that, and they just want to, do some switching around, other than just being sort of cordial. The other is deeded. So deeded is, it is in your deed that you are unit 1 as parking space 1, and then that cannot be changed.
Yeah.
Good question though.
That is great, thank you. I tried to be full of them. Anything else you want to talk about with the master deed? When do you ask for it? Or do you put it in the MLS? Like, do you wait until a buyer's agent asks for it? Does an attorney ask for it? What's sort of that process when you're selling? Or even when you're purchasing? So Mary, when you represent a buyer, when is it that you want to see the master deed?
I would love it if we could have access to it before an offer was accepted so that they have proper and ample time to kind of review. So if at all possible, we try and get all of the documents up front so we can attach them to MLS so people can kind of review at their leisure up to the deadline in which we're expecting offers to be in. But sometimes that's not the case. Maybe the owner doesn't have the documents anymore. Maybe they've just gotten lost in the shuffle or they just didn't hold on to them for some reason. If that's the scenario, we always make it our offers contingent upon review of all those condo docs, so the master deed, unit deed, declaration of trust, rules, regs, financials, and budgets. And we try and do 6 months of meeting minutes if at all possible. So the meeting minutes are probably one of the more
resale.
Yeah, so for resale, if you have an established condo association, you would be asking for meeting of minutes because that kind of tells you how the community is being governed.
Yeah, we'll go to meeting minutes.
Ooh, now you got a good question about meeting minutes.
No, I thought meeting minutes.
But obviously with the newer development, so this new construction condo, meeting minutes aren't something that they would have because the association isn't established at that point. But so we try and, if at all possible, get those documents before we to review before we sign a purchase and sale, even more preferably before we do a home inspection. Because unless it's explicitly disclosed, say I have 125-pound German Shepherd and the real estate agent and the homeowner don't know or don't disclose that there's some type of pet policy that I can't have a specific type of breed or there's a weight limit.
We're going to talk about that later too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And until I review the condo docs, I have no knowledge of that. So I don't really want to spend money on a home inspection just to get the condo docs after the home inspection and realize, the only way I'm moving into this condo is if I rehome my 125-pound German Shepherd, which knowing me, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, well, you're sort of going into what it's like the declaration of trust, what's the bylaws. So what? Go ahead. So
and a lot of times too, when you're putting in the offer, though, you initially in MLS, it will say if pets are allowed, and then usually there are some restrictions and things. So usually that up front, like they'll say, we'll accept, dogs at a certain weight and things. So you can sort of ask that. I just want to sort of stay on track a little bit about when we ask for them and why this is so important is because this is where we sort of fell into a trap. And again, I don't believe that there was anything that Mary or I or Emmanuel, their attorney, could have done differently to make the outcome any different. Because when we asked the listing agent you know, about the condo docs, he said that they would have them in a couple weeks. He also said that they would have the occupancy permit in a couple of weeks. So again, I don't know how long he's been saying, just a couple weeks, you know what I mean? So I'd rather just know, hey, we're really unsure at this time, because knowing that information could have potentially swayed her decision to go forward with this property. Now, she did spend $850 on a home inspection. She does have all of her belongings in storage now. She has had to stay in a hotel a couple nights here. You know, they're driving back and forth to Florida. And it was based on the information that we received that was inaccurate. And the other thing is, and Mary can talk more about this as well, is, you know, when you're asking about the rules and the regulations and the declaration of trust and what the condo association will and will not allow you to do, one of the, and why it's important to have those docs and not wait is because, or even take the word of somebody. Now, first of all, as a listing agent, I would have never given the answer that this agent gave. Everybody does their business different, but he said that the condo docs were, you know, he would have them in a couple weeks for us. And he also said what was really imperative was her being able to rent, correct?
Yeah.
So why don't you take the story from there and how that sort of unfolded?
So one of the really important things with condos is, especially from a resale and a use and a resale aspect, you want to understand what you're able to do with it. So especially when you're in the city, everybody's heard that, you know, they're not allowing Airbnbs or short-term rentals, and the city of Boston is restricting. And the reason they do that is because they don't want investors just buying up all of the properties and Airbnb for profit. They want to encourage owner occupancy. But with that, so this specific unit was going to be used potentially as a short-term rental, just from a snowbird perspective. I'm going to spend some time in Florida, and when I'm home, this is where I want my hub to be. And we were given an absolute affirmative that the condo would have no real rental restrictions, and that he knew that for a fact, and that several other units were in the.
Never say you know something for a fact.
So
Ever.
It was very much the affirmative, along with the condo docs will be given to you as soon as the offer is accepted. So we obviously still made it contingent upon the condo docs review and all of that. We just anticipated that, based off of the information that we were being told, that the condo docs were already drafted, in hand, ready to be given. And it was just a matter of when the units get certificate of occupancy and closed, they'll be recorded. So we thought we were going to have more time to review, look over, analyze. You know, we thought that the use that was being told to us as an affirmative was going to be in there. And that would be taking somebody off of their word, truthfully. Like, if you represent something to me that is a truth, I'm going to take it as a truth, because I don't know you to be.
And the thing is like, I don't feel like he was fibbing on, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like he was saying these things based on, oh, I know that you can't do it, so I'm going to tell them that they can. I just think that he
Probably didn't know.
He assumed that would be okay. Like, what would be the big deal? You know what I mean?
Well, that, and it's kind of like, oh, I mean, yes, I've had multiple people ask this, and even, you know, we've had multiple conversations with Emmanuel about this. A lot of times these condo docs are really drafted specifically by the attorney, and then the seller doesn't really care. Like, they hired an attorney to do a job and draft documents that can be upwards of 50 to 100 pages. They're not probably sitting down, especially a builder, sitting down and redlining and saying, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do this. They're hiring an attorney to make those suggestions for them, and kind of just saying, oh, all right, well, it is what it is. You're going to protect me the best way, I'm hiring you to. And I'm sure he felt as if, you know, that was the case. Is this thing on? What's behind this?
Every so often I feel like I'm hearing Ben.
Oh yeah, me too. I
don't know. Are you trying to get us? None of us have our headphones on.
Yeah, but
I want to give our phone number too.
yeah, I was going to.
I didn't hear anything.
That's okay. You're listening to the Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you want to ask us a question or even call and say hi, ask us how our day is going, you can give Ben a call at the studio and he'll get you right over to us, 781-837-4900. We're also live on Facebook, so we're everywhere. Find us. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. But yeah, so you know, with the condo associations, I can't talk today. You know, you're talking about the bylaws. So who comes up with the bylaws? Okay, so let's start off with, okay, you're building a new development. Who's making the rules then? And then once the development gets turned over, who makes the rules then?
So the attorneys, really, the seller's attorney is the one who's drafting all of the condo docs, the bylaws, the master deed, unit deed, declaration of trust, everything, really. And then it's presented to, they're not official until they have to have so many close, right? Or the first one has to close in a new community before the deeds are actually, not the deeds, the condo docs are recorded, doesn't it?
No, they have to be recorded before the first one can be sold. You're thinking the 75% of the condos have to be sold before the association is then turned over to either a management company or to the owners of the development. And like one of the things with the condo docs, like, yes, it's true that the attorneys probably have like a boilerplate that they use for all condo docs, you know, specific on where they are, if they're in the city or if they're in the, you know, South Shore, North Shore, whatever it is. You know, some like that are near beaches, so like beach rights and all that type of stuff. But the builders, once they review them, they can then make adjustments and suggestions as well. So I do remember when we had the development, there was 15 units over at Jefferson.
Yep.
And that was in Pembroke across from Dairy Twist. And I remember that Kevin Sealand, who's the builder over there, he wanted to discuss with me the policy with dogs and how does everybody else handle it. My recollection, is that how you say it, recollection?
Yeah.
Is that those condo docs specify that it's the breed of dog per insurance companies. So certain dog breeds are not, you know, you have extra insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So like a pit bull or a Doberman, I think is on there. German Shepherd, I think might be on there as well. So I believe that he went towards the breed of dog, not the size of dog, because it's very assumptuous to think that a dog under 25 pounds isn't going to rip your face off. Yeah. Don't you think?
I don't know if it's going to rip your face off, but if it bites you, it's not going to be
little nibbles.
Yeah, I mean,
little nibbles that can cause little puncture wounds.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Mary's cat bites me. He's got little teeth. I'm like, jeez, stop it. He just like
Sharon's never going to come to my house now.
He just likes to nibble like on your
Karen has the cat. That cat is creepy looking.
It's what Joe looks like.
It looks like it's in a scary movie. It belongs in a scary movie. That cat.
I love Luna. Very cute.
But I think that's a good point. So making the suggestion to instead, you know, do a boilerplate 20-pound restriction, or
or do we do it towards the breed? So, and that's the thing is you have to think about the builder does definitely, not maybe in this market, but in certain markets, by the time the developer starts and by the time he finishes, there's a lot of time that goes on in between, and who knows how a market is going to swing, if it swings at all. So it's important that, you know, I just lost my train of thought.
I think it's the more restrictions you have, the less likely someone will be purchasing in there.
Exactly. So if the market goes down, it's weird that you can read my mind. I'm just going to sit here and not talk.
It's, you know, because that's what I was going to say. It's like whenever I see like a breed restriction and stuff, it's like there are people that get upset about it because there are very well-behaved dogs that may come from a breed that might be aggressive. Like it's just all in the way that, I mean, anybody can turn on an instant, anybody can be aggressive, you know?
It's all on the owner. So I think that they should put restrictions on
the owners. Yeah, we might get a little dicey there.
I know. Well, you know what? We just don't. Yeah, well, that's fair housing laws, but are like mean people part of like fair housing? Like I don't think that there's a fair housing rule.
They might be a protective class.
You're just a mean person.
You're a mean person.
You're hateful.
But yeah, so the more restrictions that there are, so whether it be a pet restriction, or you can't park your boat there, you can't have a fence, you
Rental
can't,
restrictions.
That's a good one.
those.
Oh, sorry, I just thought of one. You know, I
Yeah.
personally have been packing my house all day and moved my entire house out into my garage. So there you go. I had to hire movers, everything. So, yep, see, lost it.
No, so boats.
Oh, no,
trucks.
cars, vehicles. So
Work
if you,
vehicles.
if you have your own business and you're, let's just say a plumbing company and you have a big box truck, you may not be able to park that box truck on that facility.
Yeah.
Or even if you have a small van with lettering on it, you may not be able to park that vehicle.
So why is that? Why would you put in your bylaws, though, you can't have McNamara plumbing box truck sitting in your driveway? Well, why? I own that.
Because Mary might not want to look at it all day.
Yeah.
I'm probably not gonna see it from inside my house, but
You
Mary
have to look at it from across the street.
I think they try and protect an aesthetic, right? So an aesthetic of what the units could be at their very finest. They try and protect against that. A lot of condo docs that we find, because that's actually a very common one. Is work.
And
It's not that you can't have a work
advertising.
truck if it fits in the garage. They're not going to tell you no, but oftentimes your work trucks aren't going to fit in the garage.
Yeah, and the good builders too are, the contractors that are, what's what?
Unless you're a cleaning lady.
Oh.
You just show up and park you.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's coming to do work at your house, I mean, that's different. But, some of the, like I do remember over at Jefferson, there was somebody who did want to put their car there, their truck there. And the builder was able to put something in place with somebody out back, because it's like industrial back there. So be able to get that guy a parking space back there. So, that worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in I think
It's all in the developer.
it's all in the developer, so it might be easier to make some of those changes like in the beginning stages of the development, as opposed to an established community where now you're coming in if you want to make changes and they're like, you've been here. And I'm just thinking, like, getting back to the pet policy, like there are developments that used to allow dogs, and now they've changed it where there's no longer you can't have dogs unless they're grandfathered in, and so no new owners can bring in dogs like at all. The meadows.
Kevin Sealand built those ones too. Those are really nice. I like those.
Yeah, I can't. Unless they're grandfathered in, you can't have dogs. But some people choose them in their Christmas time and stuff. But yeah, so things can change. So the board of trustees. So let's talk about when the community is given over to the people who live there. So let's take a management company out of it for a second. So it's the people who live there. So the board of trustees, they can make changes, correct?
They can, but those changes also have to be recorded at the registry of deeds. So that's why it's really important when you are part of an association to go to the meetings, because your vote definitely counts. You know, in that situation that you were talking about, with the dog, it's unfortunate because the way that the development was put together was that you could have dogs up to a certain weight, and for the most part it worked fine. And then you get a group now as time goes by. I mean, those units are older. I think those were
early
built in,
2000s.
I think they were in the 90s actually. And as they were being built, everything was fine. But then as they were being sold, then different people were coming in and they decided that they don't like dogs. Well, maybe they shouldn't have moved in then, So I don't like that when associations just sort of make decisions based on what's best for them right now.
Yeah.
Because it was probably perfectly fine, but now you got, a bunch of people on there that don't like dogs. So
I'm not living with anybody who doesn't like a dog. Just saying. You don't like a dog?
But then, then you're forcing
No
people to, have, I have an emotional support dog. Well, what happens if you have a dog and you're grandfathered in and the dog gets pregnant and now you have puppies? Are the puppies grandfathered in?
Are you only grandfathered in for that one dog? Or
I know,
can I get another dog or replace it that looks exactly like it?
Yeah, it's just complicated. And I think that when when the rules and regulations are put in place, that it will say, like when I had the development up here, there were 44 condos up here in Pembroke Center, 55 plus development. I was working with Jim Wheeler at the time, marketing his properties. And one of the things, it was in the rules and regulations that is, if your dog should soil, that you're responsible to pick it up. It was
Sounds really
simple.
hard.
It's so simple, you know what I mean? So, and here's the thing, you're in a condo development. If your dog is squatting for more than like 3 seconds, then everyone knows it. Somebody knows that your dog is stupid. Just pick it up.
I was gonna say, I don't even have an association I think that for my dog.
There's
I walk into public.
there's not much, land to begin with to be walking a dog, and
Keep it nice
also
for everybody.
there's nowhere to hide. Like somebody is always watching.
Yeah.
Somebody's always going to be home.
And again, that just comes back to being a responsible person and, just doing what the rules and regulations say. And you read them before you purchase, so you should be willing and able to do that.
Yeah.
We're really passionate about pets over here.
Yeah. Well, it's not just about establishing the rules, it's about enforcing them as well. So it's sort of like the board of trustees, like part of the meeting will be about if something happened, somebody broke whatever rule, it's about what are we going to do to rectify this situation.
Usually they'll get a letter, from the association saying, we find you in violation of, rules, regulations, blah, blah, blah. And maybe there's a policy in there that, 3 strikes and, then they have to take court action. I have no idea.
Take your front door off.
They peel up all your grass.
But there might be a rule where you can't paint your front door.
Yeah.
There's rules where if you have decorative lights, they have to be white. They can't be colored. Like you have to have the aesthetic.
If they even allow you to have.
If you even are allowed.
Do you have under the flag?
I was literally just.
I didn't do the flag, but
It was a big situation in town here with it was Barker Square actually, and it was a big to do because people wanted to put up flags, and in the regulations it says you can't. So somebody could put up a flower, like they have the ones with the flower on it or whatever in the springtime. But then you could have somebody that puts up a Biden sign and then goes up a Trump sign and then goes up an American flag and then goes up whatever. Yeah. So then now people have a problem with all the flags that are out. There's the one person who's like, hey, I don't want to look at a Trump. I don't want to look at Biden. I don't want to look at any of these, signs, flags.
Yeah.
So then they have to come down.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the next thing. No, nothing in your windows, because then people were starting to put things in the window. And now you can't do that either. Even if you put in your house for sale, there's regulations.
Open your garage door and just have things in your garage. Let it hang in there.
There are regulations that all the garage doors have to be shut unless you are going in and out of your.
That's a one?
Really? That's a one?
That's a one?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's over at Jefferson.
So, I mean, all of this is just a big way of us saying it's really important to read through those rules and regulations because you really never know what it's going to say. In
I guess it would make sense with like the whole garage thing because a lot of people keep their garages messy. Like, I don't think our garage is messy anymore, but there was a point where it was messy. But I mean, we have 4 cars and we don't park any of them in the garage. Yeah.
That's the other thing too. You have restrictions on how many people you can have. And there's another development right here in Pembroke, and the association was very upset because it's a 2-bedroom unit and it's a big extended family, and they had as their kids were getting older, they were getting cars and everything else, and they were taking up all the visitor parking. Well, it's like, well, you are issued 2 parking spaces. And the visitor parking spaces for people who are not staying there longer than. That's the other thing too with the 55+ development. The rules and regulations about that is that a different question for you, or you want me to get into that? The 55+?
It is part.
It's part of it. I mean, we only have 11 minutes, so you can.
So with the 55+ developments, I just want to let everyone know too, if you have any questions for us, we'd love to have a question. 781-837-4900. We can let the new guy, I think his name is George. Is that who it is? George?
We can't hear them.
We can't. I don't know why they can't hear us. Or whatever.
You're just fine. What's going on?
Yeah.
All right.
We do have a comment on Facebook though from Drew Benton.
Okay.
Do you know him? I would think there would be a rule on destructive dog or a pet. So somebody who some barks a lot.
Oh, a barking dog,
disruptive.
digging holes all
Yeah.
over. Yes.
Yeah, I know of a disruptive dog in one of the communities. I was doing an open house somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just went off and off.
On and on and on and on.
Like,
Yes.
okay.
Well, so there is, so when we're talking about there's different types of associations. So manufactured homes tend to have like a park association or part of they don't have a restricted pet policy, but every pet that you have needs to be approved by the park owner. So a lot of times they physically have you come in and interview with your animal, and the park owner, especially if they own that community, they have sole discretion to say yes or no. You're either not getting approved or you're getting approved.
Yeah.
So puppy must be on his best behavior.
Good comment though. Drew Benton is actually the gentleman who painted all my cabinets, and he did a great job.
Hello, Drew.
Yes.
Great
Wait
job,
to show you.
Drew.
Yeah, they're all the
Looking for a
pictures.
cabinet painter.
Drew Benton is the
Sharon's
man.
got 4 masters.
Yeah, I think it's super important. Like if the parking situation is important to you, find that out as soon as possible. When I was showing my cousin condos a couple weeks ago, we found out that there were 4 parking spaces for guests in the whole entire, there was like 150 units, 4 parking spaces, and there's no overnight parking.
Oh, really?
No overnight parking.
So you can't have a sleepover?
No. I literally said that. I go, you know, you can't have a sleepover, right? She was like, yeah, they also have this.
Did she have 1 parking space or 2?
1 parking space.
Wow, that's pretty.
And they're tandem.
Really?
I didn't even understand how that even works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
so it was a no.
but with the 55
yeah.
plus, it's you have to, some of the things that you have to watch for that is, do both people have to be 55? Does only one person have to be 55? So I know like Center Commons, only one person has to be 55 to live in the unit. And I remember I was selling one of the front ones one time, the townhouse style, and it was a resale actually. And it was a gentleman who was older than 55, so he qualified. His new wife was in her 40s, so she qualified only because she's married to him. Well, she had 2 young kids as well. And they were like, oh, we're gonna go sledding down here, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And it sort of made me think, and I was like, it wasn't specific enough to say that everybody goes to a 55 plus because they're thinking there won't be children unless living there, unless they're just guests, you know what I mean, grandkids coming to visit. But I thought about the liability that it would put on the association for kids, you know, sledding and things like that. I mean, it would be dangerous for 55 to sled too, but I think that they're probably not going to.
Dangerous for me, maybe. There's some athletic 55 plus people out there.
Yeah.
So you never know. But even Sharon, you brought this up earlier when we were talking about 55 plus communities on the phone. It's, you know, what happens if that one person who is 55 or over passes away? So everybody that's left in the house is not 55 and over. What happens then?
They have to sell.
That actually happened to stepmother of mine. Her and her mother lived together, and mom unfortunately passed away. And since she was under 55, and the association actually met and granted her the ability to be able to stay. They didn't make her sell because she was a nice person to have there. So they did make that discretionary decision.
Yeah.
But in all reality, if you had a bunch of jerks, they could make you get out.
And that's like teetering a little bit too, is when, you know what I mean, if you let one person do it, it's like,
Now you married somebody the next year that was 55 plus.
It worked.
There you go.
And he moved right in. I was the president of the association.
She always had a home. We touched upon it a little bit. Let's go with renting. So can you rent out your unit? Is it going to affect somebody's ability to get financing for it, all that fun stuff?
Yeah, so it definitely does, because I guess it depends on the type of loan that you're going for. A certain percentage of the units. Now, this was when we were in the declined market. I specifically remember Twin Lakes was in a situation. Do you remember that they had too many of the units were actually being rented? So it was difficult. Some people were getting declined based on that, so they couldn't get a loan. So that's why the association has to keep a count on all of that and really, make sure that they're aware of who is renting and who isn't.
So from a resale standpoint, there is every bank has a condo questionnaire that the communities have to fill out, which will ask if they're FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac compliant, which is usually has a lot to do with the owner occupancy rate.
And you usually have to pay to have that.
Yeah.
Filled out.
Especially in a larger association.
With the management companies, yeah. So what the questionnaire says right on it is like how many of the units are rented and how many are owned, like owner occupied. So they definitely are looking at that. And two, as Mary had mentioned earlier, you sort of have to go by what the bylaws are of each town, through zoning or whatever it is. Can you do an Airbnb? Are you not allowed to do Airbnbs? Can you, do you have a minimum? There was one that Mary went and previewed for our client the other day that was in Quincy, and he said it had a 6-month minimum. So, you really have to look into that if that's something that you are considering. Especially if you're going to consider renting, just having the condo for a little bit, then buying a single family.
Yeah.
And then keeping it to rent, you might not be able to.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to these condos with a plan.
Yeah,
if it's something that you're going to resale or you're going to sell or you're going to plan on using as an investment, that could be a huge detriment.
Yeah. Let's talk about meeting minutes. So why are meeting minutes important for?
Sharon has a horror story.
Yeah, so they're really important to look at because when the minutes of the meetings are really important because if we go back 6 months and we're looking at the associations will talk about things. They'll say, oh, building 2 has, we're going to have to do decks over on building 2 and building 3, but we'll wait until the spring to do it. So there's going to be a couple months in there where they're probably not going to talk about it because it's tabled until then. So that's why you want to go back as far as you want to. So those types of things will come up. So you'll know if a special assessment is coming up or anything like that. The other thing is I was a young girl, she was a client's daughter, and I was helping her find a place down in Plymouth. There was a bigger development, and right in the condo, in the minutes, it said that there was a renter in unit 7 or whatever that had been harassing the female residents in the parking lot. Well, you sort of want to know those things. I was like, well, maybe this isn't the right place for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I had attended an open house at a condo, and the instructions were to come in through the back door. So I did, and then I was like, what, I think I'm gonna go to the front because it also said that there was a new intercom system, so I wanted to look at that. Well, right on the front door, it's a notice saying that all these cars have been broken into. So I'm like, oh, okay. So maybe that's why we had to go through the back door.
Go to the front door and finding out why. Yeah.
So, take a walk around. Yeah, Drew says, thanks for the plug. I appreciate it.
It was great. Drew, we're getting the floors done tomorrow, so I'll have some pictures.
Yeah, so at what point do you ask for the meeting minutes?
As soon as possible.
The time of offer. Yeah, it's contingent upon review of all of these items that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And again, you have that 10-day time period generally between submitting your offer and getting to P&S. So you want to get them as soon as you possibly can.
Yeah, and you'll be able to see, who attended the meeting, important times, at what point in the meeting was things brought up, all the discussions, the motions, voting on something, whether there's going to be a special assessment, you can sometimes find it.
Definitely look for the budget. That's one of the documents that you should be asking for because that will let you know how much money is in the reserves, if any.
Well, and something important to note about the meeting minutes and the condo budget is that they're not public record. So those documents don't get recorded. Those are things that you have to request. So it's either the seller or the management company requesting these minutes or the condo budget because you're not just putting out there how much money every association has. So it's not public record. These are things that you have to ask for. They're not just going to be given to you just because.
Look for a well-run association too.
30 seconds.
Nothing's better than well-run. If they don't have documents for you, I'd be a little hesitant.
What's a condo budget?
And too, the other thing to think about too, and I know we don't have much time left, but a lot of the condos, conversions, if there's 3 units and then they're making them a condo. Now just think, 2 people don't pay the association. then you're in trouble. But anyways.
Yeah, so well, thanks for listening to us talk real estate roundtable. We will be back next Tuesday. I think we're still
President Biden joins calls for New York's governor to step down. The report details sexual
All clear. Could you ladies not hear?
Where you could not
I can hear
see
you,
no.
but we can't hear ourselves. So I don't know what
So you couldn't hear the music or anything either, right?
60-day moratorium.
Okay.